Evan moved carefully through the quiet night, holding a small flashlight in his hand. The desert around him was silent, except for the soft wind pushing sand across the abandoned human outpost. He had lived on this lonely planet for 6 months as a repair engineer, but tonight was different. Tonight, something had crashed from the sky. He had seen the fire trail across the clouds. He had heard the explosion shake the ground. And now, following the smoke, he reached the crash site. A strange, broken alien ship lay half buried in the sand, glowing faint red from heat. The metal was twisted like melted glass, and the smell of burned circuits filled the air. Evan took a slow breath and stepped inside. The inside of the ship was even darker. Sparks jumped from broken wires. A thick smell of chemicals hung in the air. Evan moved forward, scanning the room with his flashlight. Everything looked destroyed: broken panels, smashed screens, cracked walls. But still, something felt alive. A soft sound echoed, a breath, a whisper. Evan froze. "Is someone there?" he asked quietly. No answer. Only the low sound of something breathing weakly. He followed the sound deeper into the ship, his heart beating faster. His mind repeated the same warning: don't go alone. Call for help. But there was no one else on this planet. The outpost only had 2 people, and his partner was away repairing a satellite. Evan was completely alone. The sound grew louder as he stepped into a narrow corridor. His flashlight flickered, and for a moment, he saw something moving in the shadows. He stopped. He pointed the light again. There, in the corner, was a small shape. At first, he thought it was a wounded animal. But when the light finally touched the face, Evan stepped back in shock. It was a girl, but not a human girl. Her skin was paler than moonlight. Her hair was silver and messy, falling over her face. Her eyes were half open, glowing a faint red as if they carried fire inside. She looked weak, her body shaking, her breaths short and painful. Evan forgot to breathe for a moment. She looked like a survivor. And a victim. He slowly stepped closer. "Hey, can you hear me?" Her eyes opened fully, and for a moment, Evan felt something sharp inside that looked: fear, hunger, and pain all mixed together. Her voice came out as a whisper. "Don't come close." Her voice was soft, gentle even, but full of warning. Evan raised his hands. "It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you. I just want to help." "No," she whispered. "You should run." Evan frowned. "Run." Her body shook harder. She pressed herself against the wall, trying to hide from him. "Because I can't control it anymore." He didn't understand. Control what? She closed her eyes tightly, fighting some inner struggle. When she opened them again, the red glow was stronger. "My thirst," she said slowly. "My species, we don't drink water. We drink blood." Evan's heart dropped. He had heard stories about vampire-like aliens, but never believed them. Now one was sitting right in front of him, dying, starving and desperately trying not to attack him. She took a slow breath. "If you come closer, I might hurt you. And I don't want to hurt anyone. Please, go." Evan should have run. He should have listened. But he didn't. Instead, he knelt down a few steps away from her. "What's your name?" he asked softly. She blinked, surprised by the question. "Lyria." "Lyria," Evan repeated gently. "Are you dying?" Her lips trembled. "Yes. If I don't get blood soon, I won't survive." Evan looked around the broken ship. There was no one else, no supplies, no help. Only a dying girl who tried to warn him instead of attacking him. If she wanted to kill him, she would have tried already. She was fighting her instincts. She was trying to protect him. Even while dying, Evan took a deep breath. "I'm going to help you," he said. Lyria shook her head quickly. "No, you don't understand. If I drink too much, I could kill you. If I lose control, even a drop could make me." Evan interrupted. "But you're starving now. You are not dangerous. You're just scared." Her eyes widened. No human had ever spoken to her like that. Evan slowly moved closer until he sat just one arm's length away. Lyria's breath grew fast. She looked terrified, not of him, but of herself. "Evan, please," she begged. "Don't risk your life." He looked directly into her glowing eyes. "You need blood to live," he said quietly. "And I can't let someone die in front of me." Lyria covered her face with her shaking hands. "I don't want to bite you." "You won't," he said gently. "You'll drink only what you need. I trust you." Her eyes filled with shining tears. No one had ever trusted her before. Evan leaned to the side, brushed his hair away, and exposed his neck. The moment froze. Lyria stared at the warm skin, her instincts screaming at her. She shook her head again, terrified of what she might do, but Evan smiled softly. "It's okay, I'm giving you permission." Her breathing turned sharp. Her eyes glowed brighter. Slowly, painfully slowly. She leaned forward, her cold fingers touched his shoulder. Her lips brushed his skin, and in the silent, broken ship, the universe held its breath. As the dying vampire alien girl tasted human blood for the first time, and everything changed. Lyria did not move at first. Her lips were close to Evan's skin, but her body shook like she was standing on the edge of a cliff. Her instincts screamed for blood, but her heart whispered fear. She didn't want to hurt the one human who had shown her kindness. Evan felt her cold breath against his neck. He waited. He didn't push her or force her. He simply stayed still, trusting her more than she trusted herself. Finally, Lyria whispered, her voice breaking, "I'm sorry. I can't hold it anymore." Then she bit, not hard, not wild, not like a monster. Her bite was gentle, almost careful, like she was afraid of breaking him. Evan gasped softly as he felt a sharp sting, followed by a warm pull, like something draining slowly from his body. His vision blurred for a second, but he stayed calm. Lyria's hands grabbed his shoulders lightly, not to control him, but to keep herself steady. For the first time in hours, maybe days, she felt life returning to her body. Color flushed into her pale cheeks. Her breathing steadied. The burning pain in her chest began to fade, but with every drop she took, her fear grew. Inside her mind, a storm raged. "Stop, stop, you'll kill him." But her body didn't want to stop. It wanted more. Her instincts pushed her closer, telling her to drink until her strength was fully restored. Evan felt her trembling increase. He placed a soft hand on her arm. "It's okay," he whispered. Those two words hit her like sunlight, slowly, painfully. She pulled back. Her lips left his skin. She closed her eyes tightly, forcing herself to stop even though her instincts begged her to continue. When she finally opened her eyes, the red glow was softer, more controlled, and her expression was full of guilt. Evan touched the small wound on his neck, but he wasn't angry. "I told you I trust you," he said quietly. Lyria shook her head. "You don't understand. I almost lost control. One more second and I could have hurt you." "But you didn't," Evan replied. She looked at him, her eyes shining with a mix of fear and amazement. "Why would a human risk their life for an alien like me?" Evan smiled weakly. "Because you needed help." Lyria stared at him as if she had never heard such simple kindness before. She sat back slowly, her strength returning, her body less shaky. For the first time since he found her, she wasn't dying. But now another problem appeared: emotion. She felt something strange inside her chest, something warm and unfamiliar. Gratitude, respect, but something else too. Something deeper that she didn't dare name. Evan noticed her staring. "What's wrong?" Lyria looked away quickly. "Nothing, I didn't expect kindness from a human. Most species fear mine." Evan shrugged. "I was scared too. But fear doesn't stop me from helping someone." Lyria gently touched her lips, still surprised. Your blood. It's different. It feels pure, strong. It healed me faster than I expected. Evan raised an eyebrow. Is that bad? No, she said softly. It's rare. She stood up slowly, testing her legs. The weakness faded from her muscles. Her red eyes softened to a calm glow. For the first time since her ship crashed, she felt hope. But hope didn't last long. Sudden warning alarm inside the ship echoed faintly. One of the systems had detected a nearby signal. Lyria's face turned serious. They found me, she whispered. Evan frowned. Who? She swallowed hard. Hunters. The ones who destroyed my clan. They track survivors because our blood has healing power. Evan felt a cold shock go through him. You mean they kill your people for your blood? They don't just kill, Lyria said quietly. They harvest. Evan took a step closer. Are they coming here? She nodded slowly. Yes, and they will not stop. The air grew heavy. The temperature seemed to drop. The silence inside the broken ship felt sharper now. Evan looked at her with concern. You're still weak. You can't fight them alone. Lyria lifted her chin slightly, trying to hide her fear. I don't want you involved. You've already risked too much. Evan shook his head. Too late for that. If they're coming, we leave together. Her eyes widened, once again surprised by his loyalty. Evan, I don't want your blood to be wasted because of me. He laughed softly. You make it sound like I donated money, not blood. For the first time, Lyria smiled. A small, shy smile, but it changed her whole expression. She looked less like a terrified creature, and more like someone who finally found safety. But the moment didn't last. Outside, a sharp mechanical noise echoed across the night sky. Something heavy landed on the sand. A hostile ship. Lyria's eyes turned bright again, not with hunger this time, but with fear. They're here. Evan grabbed her hand without thinking. Then let's move. Lyria looked at their joined hands for a long second. A strange warmth spread through her body, stronger than blood. She nodded. In that moment, a silent promise formed between them, unspoken but powerful. She would not let harm come to him. He would not abandon her. And together, they ran into the darkness, just as the hunters arrived. Evan and Lyria ran through the darkness, leaving the broken alien ship behind them. The night air was cold, and the sand shifted under their feet as they moved quickly across the desert. In the distance, the hunter's ship glowed like a sharp silver blade cutting through the darkness. Lyria kept scanning the sky with tense, alert eyes. The brief strength she gained from Evan's blood was fading slowly, and she knew she could not fight, not yet. Evan noticed her breathing getting heavier. You okay? He whispered. Lyria nodded, even though she wasn't fine. Her instincts warned her every second. Her people had been hunted for generations. Their enemy never stopped once a scent was found. We need shelter, she said softly. There's an old maintenance tunnel ahead, Evan replied. We can hide there. They reached the tunnel entrance, a rusted metal door half buried in sand. Evan pushed it open with effort, and they slipped inside. The tunnel stretched far, lit only by a few weak emergency lights. Safe for now, Lyria sat down against the cold metal wall. Evan knelt beside her, studying her worried face. You're scared, he said gently. She didn't deny it. My species. We are almost extinct. Only a handful of us still live. The hunters made sure our population could never rise. Evan frowned. But why? Why hunt peaceful people? Lyria closed her eyes for a moment, gathering strength to speak. When she opened them, they glowed softly again, this time not from hunger, but from memory. My people are called the Valuren, she began. We were once a small, quiet species. We did not fight, we did not claim lands, we didn't want power. We lived in harmony with nature on our home planet. Evan listened closely, sensing that she had carried this story alone for a long time. Lyria continued, her voice low and calm. We were healers. Our blood carries energy that can repair cells, cure wounds, even stop death for a short time. But we never used it for war, only to help the sick and protect life. Evan understood immediately. And someone wanted that power. Lyria nodded slowly. Yes, the Zorith Empire discovered us. They wanted our blood for soldiers, for experiments, for profit. They captured our people and drained them like resources. Her voice cracked as she remembered. They wiped out entire villages, my mother, my family. She stopped, her breath shaking. I watched my home burn when I was a child. I hid under the floor with 3 others. Only I survived the escape. Evan felt a sharp pain in his chest. He had lost people too, but not like this, not hunted, not harvested. I'm sorry, he whispered. Lyria didn't look at him. Humans don't understand. Your world never suffered like this. Maybe not like this, Evan said softly. But humans have lost homes too, families, planets wiped out in wars. You're not alone. Lyria finally met his eyes. Her expression softened, as if she was seeing him differently now. For a moment, silence filled the tunnel. Then Evan asked, carefully, why were you alone on that ship? Lyria took a deep breath. It wasn't just a ship. It was a rescue vessel. A Valuran scientist had found a way to hide our energy signature, so the hunters couldn't track us. I was being transported to a safe refuge. But they found you anyway. Evan asked. Yes, the Zorith Empire improved their scanners. They attacked my ship before we even left orbit. I escaped in a pod, but it crashed here. She held her hands tightly, as if trying to hold the pain inside. I didn't want to die on this planet. And I didn't want humans to see me as a monster. Evan shook his head slowly. You're not a monster, Lyria. Yes, I am, she whispered. I drink blood. I bite. I lose control. But you stopped, Evan said firmly. You stopped yourself for my sake. A monster wouldn't do that. Her lips parted slightly, surprised by his confidence. You trust me too easily, she said. Maybe, Evan replied with a small smile. But you saved my life too, Lyria blinked. I did nothing. Oh, you did, Evan said lightly. You didn't kill me when you could have. She stared at him for a long second before a tiny, reluctant smile curved her lips. But the warmth didn't last. Suddenly, the tunnel lights flickered. A loud metallic echo came from above. The hunters were scanning the area. Lyria stiffened instantly. They're using a pulse search. They will find this tunnel. Evan stood up, panic rising. How long do we have? Minutes, she said. Evan looked around quickly. Then we need to move again. Lyria grabbed his wrist, her grip surprisingly gentle. Evan, if they catch me, you must leave. If they take me, they'll drain me. Then they'll use me to track you. I don't want your blood on their hands. Evan pulled his hand free. I'm not leaving you, he said firmly. Not after everything. Lyria stared at him with a mix of confusion and emotion she didn't know how to hide. No one had ever refused to abandon her before. No one had ever stood between her and danger. You're human, she whispered. Why risk so much? Evan took a breath. Because someone has to. And right now, I'm all you've got. Her eyes softened again, this time with something deeper than gratitude. Hope. Before either of them could speak again, the earth shook. A heavy blast hit the surface. Dust fell from the tunnel ceiling. They found us, Lyria said. Evan swallowed hard. Then we run. Together. And for the first time in her life, Lyria felt something stronger than fear. She felt protected. As they escaped deeper into the tunnel, she whispered softly to herself, Maybe humans are different. The tunnel shook again as another explosion hit the surface above them. Dust rained down like falling ash. Evan grabbed Lyria's arm and pulled her deeper into the corridor. The old metal walls groaned under the impact, but they held for now. "They're not wasting time," Evan said, breathing hard. Lyria nodded, her eyes glowing faint blue, now fear mixed with instinct. "The hunters don't take risks. If they think I'm here, they destroy everything around me." Evan stopped for a moment, shocked. Everything? Even if civilians were nearby? "There are no civilians in their eyes," Lyria whispered. "Only targets." A cold silence filled the tunnel for a second. Then a heavy, clanking sound echoed through the metal walls. Footsteps, mechanical ones. The kind that belonged to armored soldiers. "They're inside," Evan said quietly. Lyria closed her eyes for a second. She could hear them clearly there. Heavy breathing through masks, their scanning devices buzzing, their cold voices speaking in the sharp Zorath tongue. "They're close," she said. "We need to stay low." They moved deeper until they reached a large chamber that once stored machinery for the outpost. Old metal crates, rusted pipes, and broken equipment filled the room. Evan quickly pulled Lyria behind a stack of crates. "Stay here," he whispered. Lyria grabbed his wrist firmly. "Don't go alone," Evan gave a half smile. "I won't go far. I just need to check something." He peeked through a narrow gap between crates. 3 Zorath hunters had entered the chamber. They wore dark armor with glowing red visors. Their weapons made a low humming sound, like they were ready to fire at any moment. Evan whispered, "They're scanning. They'll find us." Lyria's shoulders tensed. "I'm still weak. I can't fight them." Evan touched the small wound on his neck, the place where she fed. It throbbed faintly but didn't bother him. "You survived this long. You will survive again." Lyria stared at him, confused. "You believe in me more than I do." Before Evan could answer, a red scanning beam swept across the chamber. It passed over crates, broken machines, the floor, and then slowly turned toward them. "Down!" Evan whispered sharply. They ducked just as the beam passed overhead. A hunter's voice echoed. "Life signature detected." 2 beings. Evan's heart dropped. "They found us." Lyria grabbed his hand. "We run." But before they could move, metal claws pierced the crate beside them. The hunter's armored hand ripped it open, sending debris flying. Evan shielded Lyria with his body without thinking. The hunter stepped forward, its visor glowing red. "Target located. The Valyrian female must be taken alive. The human is optional." Optional. That one word made anger flash in Evan's eyes. Lyria pushed him back gently. "Stay behind me. I won't let them hurt you." But Evan shook his head. "Not this time." He reached for something in the crate remnants, a metal pipe, long and heavy, not a weapon, but better than nothing. The hunter aimed its weapon. Lyria acted instantly. She jumped in front of Evan, her eyes glowing bright again. Her speed wasn't fully restored, but her instincts were sharp. She knocked the weapon upward just as it fired, sending the energy blast into the ceiling. The explosion shook the chamber. Evan used the distraction. He swung the pipe at the hunter's knee joint. The metal connected with a loud crack. The hunter staggered, shocked that a human dared strike it. Lyria used that moment to step behind the hunter and slash at its neck with her sharp nails. She didn't have claws like animals. Her nails glowed with faint energy, just strong enough to disrupt armor. The hunter fell to one knee, but the other 2 didn't hesitate. They fired at once. Evan pulled Lyria behind a broken engine block. The blasts hit the metal, melting it on impact. "They'll corner us," Lyria said, breathing fast. "They always do." Evan shook his head. "Not if we make a trap." "What trap?" she asked. He pointed to a large coolant tank nearby. A crack ran through it, leaking vapor. "If they hit that tank with an energy blast, it will explode." Lyria blinked. "You want them to shoot it?" Evan nodded. We just need to stand where they think they can hit us. Lyria hesitated. You're human. You could die. So could you, Evan replied softly. But together, we won't. She didn't argue. She trusted him now more than she trusted her own fear. They stepped away from the engine block, pretending to run toward the coolant tank. The hunters aimed there. Weapons, now. Evan shouted. They dropped to the floor just as the hunters fired. The blast hit the tank directly. A massive explosion ripped through the chamber. Blue fire erupted, throwing metal, dust, and debris everywhere. The shockwave slammed into the hunters, sending their armored bodies crashing into walls. Evan and Lyria lay on the floor, coughing, covered in dust. Are they down? Evan asked. Lyria listened carefully. Her sensitive hearing picked up nothing but crackling fire and falling debris. Yes, she said finally. For now. Evan smiled. Breathless. Good, then let's get out before they send more. Lyria stood up slowly, her body shaking but her will stronger than ever. You risked your life for me again, she said softly. Evan shrugged. You risked yours too. Lyria looked at him with a strange mixture of wonder and fear, the kind one feels when seeing something impossible. A human and a Valyrian fighting side by side. She whispered, my people never believed it could happen. Evan grinned. Then let's prove it can. Outside, more hunter ships landed. Their fight had only begun. Evan and Lyria escaped the damaged tunnel just moments before it collapsed. Behind them, the desert night stretched endlessly around them, cold, silent, and filled with danger. Far in the distance, the hunters' ships flickered like red stars, scanning the land. They had survived the first attack. But barely. Lyria looked weak again. The explosion had pushed her body beyond its current limits. She tried to stand tall, but her knees trembled. Evan stepped closer and placed a steady hand on her shoulder. You need rest, he said softly. I don't have the time, Lyria whispered. The hunters move fast. If we stop, they catch us. Evan looked around the dark desert. He spotted a rocky ridge nearby, tall enough to hide them from aerial scans. Come on, he said gently. We'll shelter under those rocks for now. Lyria hesitated, but she didn't refuse. Truthfully, she couldn't. Her body was demanding rest, and every step felt heavier than the last. She followed Evan toward the ridge. When they reached it, they found a shallow cave carved naturally into the stone. It wasn't deep, but it was enough to hide their heat signatures for a short time. Inside, Evan helped Lyria sit down. She avoided looking at him at first, embarrassed by her weakness. Her species were known as healers, not fighters. And yet here she was weak, hunted, and depending on a human to survive. But Evan didn't judge her. He simply sat beside her, offering silent comfort. The wind outside howled like distant voices. Evan finally broke the silence. How are you feeling? Be honest. Lyria looked at him with tired eyes. Your blood helped me, but I used too much energy in the fight. My powers. They work slowly unless I feed more. Evan touched the wound on his neck gently. You mean, you need more blood? Lyria quickly shook her head. No, I already took more than I should have. If I drink again, you might faint, or worse. Evan chuckled softly. Then it's good I'm stubborn. I don't faint easily. Lyria's eyes softened, and something like warmth passed through her expression. She wasn't used to humor, or humans, or kindness. Everything about him confused her, and comforted her. You're strange, Evan, she said quietly. Strange how? He asked. You're not afraid of me. Even when you should be. Evan leaned back against the stone wall. You're not scary to me, Lyria blinked. Lie. Bit you? Yeah, Evan said with a small smile, and you apologized before doing it. That doesn't sound like a monster. She stared at him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then, unexpectedly, she lowered her head slightly, almost shy. I never wanted to be a burden, she whispered. My people always tried to help others. Now I'm the one needing help. Evan shook his head. Everyone needs help sometimes, even humans. Lyria raised her eyes slowly, studying his face in the dim light. The human warmth in his voice, the calm in his presence. It made something inside her chest feel strange and unfamiliar. Why are you doing this? She asked softly. Why risk your life for me? Evan took a breath. This question again. But he understood why she kept asking. No one had ever protected her before. Because you deserve to live, he said simply. Because you're good. Because you didn't hurt me when you easily could have. Lyria's lips parted slightly. She did not understand how someone could see her as good. Her whole life, she had been hunted, feared, or used, but this human. He saw something else. Her hand moved slowly, almost unconsciously, until her fingers brushed the back of Evan's hand. A soft, fragile touch. She didn't even realize she had done it until he looked down. She pulled back quickly, embarrassed. I'm sorry, that was instinct. Evan smiled gently. It's okay, I don't mind. Her cheeks warmed slightly, a blush barely visible on her pale skin. Valiran didn't blush often, only when strong emotions surfaced. Outside, Valiran didn't blush often, only when strong emotions surfaced. Soft rumble echoed through the desert, the hunters' ships flying overhead. Lyria stiffened, but Evan placed a hand near hers again, calming her. They're searching everywhere, she whispered. I'm putting you in danger. Evan shook his head. Danger or not, we stick together. His words hit her deeply. No one had ever said that to her before. Not even her own people during the fall of her village. She stared at him again, a mixture of awe and confusion in her eyes. You humans, she whispered. You are more complicated than I thought. Evan grinned. We always surprise people. Lyria let out a tiny, unplanned laugh, a soft musical sound she hadn't made in years. Evan froze, stunned. You laughed, he said. Lyria covered her mouth, embarrassed. I didn't mean to. It just happened. I like that sound, Evan said with a warm smile. Her blush deepened. For a few peaceful minutes they sat together, under the rocks, listening to the distant hum of enemy ships. Though the danger still surrounded them, the cave felt strangely warm, quiet, safe, almost gentle. But deep inside Lyria, something changed that she couldn't ignore. She had trusted Evan with her life. But now, her heart whispered something even more dangerous. She didn't just trust him, she cared for him deeply. More than she should. The bond between them had officially begun. The night grew colder as Evan and Lyria waited inside the rocky shelter. For a moment, it felt like the world had stopped, quiet, still, holding its breath. But Lyria suddenly stiffened, her ears twitching slightly. They're coming, she whispered. Evan frowned. Again? Already? Lyria nodded. Hunters don't stop. When they lose a unit, they send more. And this time, I hear 6. Evan's heart dropped. 6 armored hunters, with advanced scanners. And this cave wasn't strong enough to hide them much longer. We need to move, Evan said. But Lyria didn't stand. She leaned on the rock wall, her breathing shaky. I used too much energy earlier. My body is still healing. I don't know if I can run. Evan knelt beside her. Then I'll carry you. Lyria looked shocked. Evan, you can't carry me across the desert while hunters chase us. Watch me, he said. He placed one arm under her legs and the other behind her back. She gasped in surprise as he lifted her easily. Evan. He gave a small smile. You're lighter than you look. Lyria blinked, confused. That's not the compliment you think it is. Evan laughed softly. Sorry. She stared at him, her heart beating faster for reasons unrelated to fear. But their small, warm moment didn't last. A sharp metallic sound echoed through the cave entrance. A hunter ship landed nearby. The ground trembled. They're here. Lyria whispered. Evan gently set her down. He looked toward the cave mouth. Then we fight. Lyria shook her head firmly. You're human. You can't fight 6 hunters. They're trained to kill. So what? I'm not letting them take you. Lyria grabbed his arm. Evan, listen to me. If they capture me, they will use my blood to create stronger soldiers. They will hunt more humans, more species. Losing me is better than losing thousands. Evan stared at her, shocked. You think your life is less valuable? My life has only brought danger to anyone near me, she whispered. Leavin'. To you. Evan leaned closer. His voice was soft but firm. You're wrong. Your life matters to your people. And now to me. Lyria's breath caught in her throat, but before she could answer, a glowing red beam cut across the cave wall. The hunters had scanned their exact location. Evan stood up fast. Get ready. 6 tall armored hunters stepped into the cave entrance. Their red visors glowed like burning coals. Their weapons hummed with deadly energy. One of them spoke in a deep, mechanical voice. Valuran life form detected. Human interference confirmed. Human may be terminated. Evan clenched his fists, but Lyria stepped in front of him. Her legs trembled, yet she stood tall, defiant. You will not touch him, she said. Her voice was quiet, but full of something. Ancient. Something powerful. The hunters raised their weapons. Evan whispered. Lyria, don't. But she moved. Her eyes flashed bright silver. Energy crackled through her veins. Even weak, she was still a Valuran, one of the galaxy's rarest and most feared healers. A shockwave burst from her body, not an attack, a barrier. A glowing dome shield formed around them, blocking the first volley of hunter blasts. The energy hit the shield like rain on glass, sparks flying everywhere. Lyria groaned in pain, her body shaking. Lyria, stop, you'll burn yourself out. Evan shouted, I can hold it. She whispered through clenched teeth. Just a little longer. But Evan saw the truth. Her body was breaking under the strain. She needed strength. And there was only one way. He grabbed her wrist. Drink, he said. Lyria's eyes widened in horror. No, Evan, I'll take too much. I trust you, he said softly, just like before. Her energy shield flickered as the hunters fired again. She was seconds from collapsing. If the shield broke, they would die together. Lyria hesitated, torn between fear and need. Evan leaned closer. Please, live. That word broke her resistance. With trembling hands, she pulled him toward her. Her lips touched his neck again, but this time her bite was deeper, desperate, yet controlled. Evan gasped, feeling the draining pull of her hunger. Her eyes glowed bright silver as life flooded back into her. Her power surged. The shield grew stronger, shining like a rising sun inside the dark cave. The hunters stepped back, confused. Then Lyria released him, her eyes clear and blazing with strength. Evan, she whispered, voice shaking. You gave me too much. Evan's legs wobbled. He nearly collapsed, but Lyria caught him gently. You didn't hurt me, he said with a weak smile. She stared at him like he was something unreal, something impossible. Then she stood, turning to face the hunters. Her voice echoed. Through the cave, you will not take him. Silver energy burst from her palms. A massive shockwave ripped through the cave, slamming into the hunters and sending them flying into the rocks. Their armor sparked and cracked from the force. 2 were knocked out instantly. 3 struggled to rise. The last one charged directly at Lyria. She stepped forward calmly, almost gracefully, and placed her hand on its chest. A bright silver pulse shot through the armor. The hunter fell. Completely still, silence returned. Lyria breathed heavily, her power fading again. She turned toward Evan, who sat against the wall, pale but awake. You saved me again, she whispered. Evan smiled weakly. We save each other. She knelt beside him, her hand trembling as she touched his cheek. I don't understand humans. Your courage, your kindness. It's stronger than any power I've ever seen. Evan placed his hand over hers. And your heart is stronger than you think. Lyria lowered her head, emotion burning behind her bright eyes. In that moment, she realized something terrifying and beautiful. She wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. She was fighting for him. Their bond was no longer accidental. It was unbreakable. The cave had fallen silent after the battle. Sparks flickered from broken hunter armor. Dust floated in the air like fading ghosts. Evan leaned against the stone wall, breathing slowly, his face pale but calm. Lyria knelt beside him, her glowing silver eyes filled with worry. You gave me too much blood, she whispered softly. Humans are not built for that. You could have died. Evan smiled weakly. But I didn't. That is not the point, Lyria said, her voice trembling. I promised myself I would protect you. Yet I keep hurting you instead. Evan gently lifted her chin with his hand. Lyria, you didn't hurt me. You saved both of us. She stared at him, stunned by his calmness. Humans were strange. They cared in ways her species never understood. They risked their lives for people they barely knew. They found hope in places where others saw only death. And Evan was the strangest of them all. Lyria glanced around the cave. We cannot stay here. More hunters will come. The Empire never stops until the target is removed. Evan tried to stand but stumbled. Lyria immediately caught him, her arms gentle but firm. She helped him lean against her shoulder. You need time to recover, she said. Time is something we don't have, Evan answered. But Lyria shook her head. Then I will make time. She lifted him carefully, guiding him out of the cave. The desert night was quiet again. The hunter ships had moved farther away, searching the horizon. For a brief moment, peace returned, thin, fragile, but real. They walked toward the old human outpost, hoping to find supplies. The sky above them was filled with stars, thousands of them, bright and cold. Lyria looked up. When I was young, my people believed the stars protected us. Evan smiled. Do you still believe that? Lyria closed her eyes for a moment. I don't know. My people are gone. My home is gone. The stars stayed silent during our fall. Maybe. They were waiting, Evan said quietly. For what? She asked. For someone like you to survive. Lyria stopped walking, stunned. His words struck something deep inside her heart, something she had tried to bury for years. Her value, her identity, her worth. You don't understand how important you are, Evan continued. You're not just the last of your people. You're hope. Lyria swallowed hard, unable to speak, but their moment ended when a loud metallic roar echoed from the sky. Another hunter ship had spotted movement. A harsh spotlight swept the desert. They found us again, Lyria said, fear returning to her voice. Evan grabbed her hand. Then we hide. She pulled him close to a cluster of tall rocks. They crouched low as the spotlight passed over them. Evan held his breath. Lyria listened carefully, her senses sharp. The ship circled once, twice, then flew past them. Finally, she released a slow sigh. We're safe. For now. Evan let out a shaky breath. Good, because I thought I was going to die just by. Holding still, Lyria gave him a tiny smile. You are dramatic for a human. And you're too calm for someone being hunted, Evan replied. She shook her head, her voice softening. I'm not calm. I'm learning courage from you. Evan blinked, surprised. From me? Yes. She looked into his eyes, serious and sincere. When my ship fell, I accepted death. I thought my story was over. But you changed. Everything. You made me believe I can fight. You made me believe I deserve to live. Evan felt his chest tighten, not with pain this time, but emotion. Lyria, you do deserve to live, more than anyone. A silence settled between them, not empty, but heavy with meaning. Then Lyria slowly lifted her hand and placed it gently on his cheek. Her fingers were cool at first, then warm as they touched his skin. Levin, she whispered, her voice shaking, you gave me your blood to save my life. I cannot give the same gift back, but I can offer something else. Evan looked at her curiously. What is it? Lyria leaned closer, her eyes glowing softly in the starlight. A vow from the last Valurin. She lowered her hand and placed it against his chest, right over his heartbeat. I vow to protect you, she said. To stay by your side, to fight for you until my last breath. My life belongs to you now. Evan's eyes widened. Lyria, you don't have to, she cut him off gently. This is not a debt. This is my choice. A warm wind brushed over them. The stars shimmered brighter, as if listening. Evan placed his hand over hers. Then I'll make a vow too. Lyria looked up, surprised. I vow to protect you, he said softly. Not because you owe me, but because I care about you. More than I ever expected. Lyria felt something inside her chest melt, something fragile, something beautiful, something she had never felt before. She leaned her forehead gently against his. In that quiet moment, under the endless sky, a bond formed stronger than blood. A bond that no hunter, no empire, no fear could ever break. Their fates were sealed. Together, forever.